A detective named Ruiz visits a lady named Imogene in her mansion. He shows her a picture of his missing nephew, Jose, and asks to speak to her driver, Maurice. But Imogene tells him Maurice is not here and will be back in an hour.
In an hour?
Ruiz decides to wait, so Imogene asks the chef, Ryan, to serve Ruiz and Officer Gallo. Ruiz finds the soup delicious, but he doesn't know he's eating a soup cooked using his nephew's flesh. Before the events of that night unfold, we see Ryan, a struggling chef, make his way to Spain to reunite with his friend, Jack. He gets a text message from a loan shark named Rabbit asking where he is, but Ryan ignores him and goes to his driver who'll take him to Jack's home. On the way, the driver gives Ryan a written message from Jack where he says, "Sorry for not being there to pick him up." Ryan arrives at Jack's home, which turns out to be a mansion. Jack is not there, so Ryan entertains himself by making breakfast. At sunset, after long hours of waiting, Jack finally arrives to welcome Ryan. The two have been friends since culinary school, and they haven't seen each other in 12 years. Jack tells Ryan he works for an agency that feeds the filthy rich. He also adds this mansion belongs to the agency he works for, and he's in it temporarily, as the agency has him travel around to just cook. Ryan asks Jack if this job pays well.
This pay must be great, huh?
To which Jack reluctantly says yes. Ryan starts wishing for Jack's job, being a chef who wasn't paid well for the cooking he did in America. The next morning, Jack wakes Ryan up, and the two go for a run afterward. Jack then shows Ryan his Subaru. Jack uses it to blend in with the people to hide his riches. Jack also brags to Ryan about his watch, which Ryan lost to him in a bet 15 years ago. The two then go to a small restaurant where they have some breakfast and meet a girl named Alice. She quit her job and decided to use the money she had left to travel around the world. Alice then gets to know the duo and finds out they've been friends since culinary school, and they haven't seen each other for 12 years. Given that the two are chefs, Alice asks which one cooks better. To help her answer that question, the duo takes Alice to the mansion and asks her to name a meal she wants to eat. Alice does so Ryan and Jack start cooking it. Rabbit calls Ryan, but Ryan ignores him and focuses on the cooking. The dish is now ready. Jack blindfolds Alice as Ryan puts the bowl he cooked and Jack's bowl in front of her. Alice has a taste of both, but likes Ryan's bowl more, which makes Ryan the winner. The next morning, Ryan wakes up and finds a text message from Rabbit, threatening to find him if he doesn't pay back the money he owes. After Jack leaves for work, Ryan opens his laptop to find that Jack has £1 million in his bank account. Jack returns at night, feeling down in the dumps. As the duo has a smoke by the pool, Jack tells Ryan he's had it with the world. He talks about how messed up it is with people killing each other for gain and taking advantage of the poor. Feeling lonely and homesick, Jack thanks Ryan for being with him. Ryan wakes up the next morning and looks at the beautiful view, but is shocked to the core when he finds Jack committed the unthinkable. This leaves Ryan thinking about what to do. He considers calling the police, but then decides to get rid of his friend's body and steal his identity. To pay his debt to Rabbit, Ryan tries opening Jack's bank account, but can't log in as he doesn't have the password and username. So Ryan calls the bank and asks to reset the password. However, the banker asks Ryan for some identification like a driver's license to prove he's Jack, not somebody else. So Ryan goes to a website and applies for a fake driver's license with his picture, but with Jack's name. Rabbit sends Ryan a picture of his mother and threatens to kill her if he doesn't pay his debt in 2 days. Ryan promises Rabbit to pay him an extra 50 grand if he gives him more time, to which Rabbit says yes. When night falls, Ryan drags Jack's body and dumps it into the river. The next morning, Ryan looks into Jack's details to take his identity and access his bank account. On his way back to Jack's house, he gets a call from Rabbit telling Ryan to pay back the debt as soon as possible. Ryan returns to Jack's house to find a lady named Imogene
Jack.
and a man named Maurice waiting for him. They are from the agency Jack works for, and it sent them here to have Jack prepare an expensive dinner for 5 rich guests. Thinking that Ryan is Jack, Imogene calls him Jack, so Ryan plays along and pretends to be Jack. Desperate for money to pay off his debt, Ryan asks Imogene how much he'll get paid for this job, to which Imogene answers $300K.
$300K.
Ryan asks to be paid $50K in advance. Imogene says yes and wires him the money. Ryan immediately sends the money to Rabbit and finally pays off his debt. Thinking she's talking to Jack, Imogene tells Ryan about the job. 5 people will come to this mansion and have dinner, and Ryan's job is cooking that dinner and making sure the meat is ready and delicious. Not knowing what kind of meat Imogene's talking about, Ryan tells her he hasn't prepared anything yet. Angry with Ryan, Imogene reminds him that dinner is tomorrow, so the meat has to be ready by tomorrow.
The dinner's tomorrow.
So Imogene and Maurice drive him to a neighborhood to find the meat. Imogene tells Ryan to bring her 2 dead people to cook their flesh and serve it to the guests. Ryan is lost for words as he can't believe what he's hearing. Ryan then tells her he can't do it, but Imogene threatens to have him killed if he doesn't obey. Ryan reluctantly says yes, as he now understands why Jack hung himself. Imogene also reminds Ryan to make sure the people they pick are healthy. People's meat is much more delicious when they're healthy. Night falls. Not wanting human blood on his hand, Ryan tries to secretly leave. However, Imogene catches him and brags about how the agency makes $100 million by killing 75 people a year and feeding their flesh to rich people for dinner. The next morning, Maurice wakes Ryan up and tells him it's time to collect some meat. They drive to the neighborhood, and Maurice tells him to look at the people walking out of the church and pick 2 to cook for dinner. Ryan points at a girl walking with her grandmother, so Maurice follows them to the neighborhood. However, Maurice and Ryan can't find the girl and the grandmother as they walk into the neighborhood. A man named Jose asks them if they're looking for someone. Maurice thinks Jose is a good choice for dinner, so he lures him and tells him the car is broken. Jose gets underneath the car to check what's wrong with it. Maurice puts the silencer on his gun and asks Jose if he eats healthy food. Just as Jose says yes, Maurice shoots him dead. After killing Jose, Maurice tells Ryan to put Jose in the car, but a cop named Gallo approaches and confronts Maurice about following the girl and her grandmother. Maurice denies following them and makes up a story. He works for a property development company to build a hotel in the neighborhood. He also points to Ryan as the architect who will build the hotel. On the way back, Ryan reminds Maurice they need another body since Imogene asked for 2. Maurice tells him the police are involved and getting another body might get them into trouble. After Maurice and Ryan return, they drag Jose's body to the basement where Ryan will chop it up. Imogene reminds Ryan to ready the flesh as the dinner will be in 5 hours before she and Maurice leave him with the body. Ryan gets it done as he comes out covered in Jose's blood, riddled with guilt. He breaks into tears in the showers as he washes the blood off his body. Following that, Ryan receives the fake driver's license he ordered earlier. It has his picture on it with Jack's name and details. Ryan packs his stuff and tries to drive his way out, but ends up hitting a worker for the agency by accident. Maurice comes out and tells Ryan the agency will find him if he runs away. Ryan asks Maurice if there's any chef legitimately left the agency. Maurice tells him about a chef named Greta. She got tired of working from the agency, so she decided to quit. The agency let her go. Maurice tells Ryan he received an email from Greta and learned she became a personal chef for a rich family. Maurice never heard from her again.
I never heard from her after that.
Night falls and it's finally dinner time. 2 guests arrive and Imogene welcomes them. After Maurice leaves to pick up the rest, Officer Gallo arrives along with a detective named Ruiz. To throw away suspicion, Imogene introduces herself to the cops as the owner of a property development company and that she's having a dinner with the investors to discuss a hotel they're going to build here. Detective Ruiz shows her a picture of Jose, his nephew, and tells her Jose's missing.
It's Jose and he is missing.
And he's here to ask Maurice and Ryan about him, given that they were in Jose's neighborhood. Imogene tells Ruiz maybe his nephew went on a spontaneous adventure, but Ruiz finds this unlikely since Jose is a loyal husband who has a newborn child. Imogene introduces Ryan to Ruiz as the architect who'll be building the hotel and the cook who'll be cooking for the guests.
Yes, for tonight.
Ruiz asks Ryan a few questions about architecture and what materials he'll use to build the hotel, but Ryan struggles to answer as he doesn't know anything about architecture, so Imogene kicks in to cover up for him and answers Ruiz's questions instead. Ruiz then shows Ryan a picture of his nephew Jose and asks if he saw him in the neighborhood, to which Ryan says no. Ruiz then decides to stay and wait for Maurice to come back, hoping that he'll tell him something about Jose. Officer Gallo notices the weird smell of the soup Ryan is cooking and asks Ryan what kind of meat he used to cook it.
What kind of meat do you use for the pozole?
Ryan lies and says he used lamb and pork. Since Ruiz will be waiting for Maurice to come back, Imogene has Ryan serve them some of the soup he cooked. She then privately tells the guests the police are here, so they need to act as investors in her property development company. The guests say yes, no problem. Ruiz tastes the soup and tells Ryan it's delicious.
I think you may have chosen the wrong profession.
He doesn't know he's eating his nephew's flesh. After having Imogene charge his phone, Ruiz quizzes Ryan and asks him more questions. However, they're interrupted when Maurice arrives with the rest of the guests. Ruiz asks Maurice about Jose, but Maurice lies and tells him he's never seen him. Ruiz then asks the guests about Jose, but they all say no. Ruiz then decides to leave, but one of the guests, Mr. Nishihara, invites him to stay for dinner.
Please sit.
To which Ruiz happily says yes. Not happy with what Mr. Nishihara did, Imogene confronts him about it in private. Being an adrenaline junkie, Nishihara tells her the best part about this is the possibility they might get caught. He also tells her to relax, as he will deal with Ruiz and cover for them all. Shortly after, Alice rings the bell and tells Imogene she's here to see Jack. Imogene tells her Jack is working, so this is not a good time to visit. Alice replies she drove a long way and asks to use the bathroom. Imogene says no, but Alice threatens to piss in the garden. Imogene lets her in, takes her to Ryan, and tells him to get rid of her, as she calls him Jack. Alice asks Ryan why Imogene calls him Jack.
Why is she calling you Jack?
Ryan tells her he's filling in for him. She has a taste of the meat, but Ryan takes it away from her and tells her it's not for her. Alice notices the blood Ryan is cooking. Ryan asks her to leave, but Alice asks where Jack is. Ryan tells her Jack's gone to the UK and he's not coming back. Alice feels that something is off about Ryan, so she decides to leave. Ryan hugs her and shows her Jack's watch, hoping that she'll take the hint and call the police. Alice notices it, and Ryan tells her Jack gave it to him as a gift before he left. This sounds suspicious to Alice, so she rushes to her car and turns the ignition to drive her way out, but her car breaks down. Maurice startles her and offers to help. Meanwhile, Ruiz is served a dish of meat with red sauce on it, along with the guests. Ruiz tastes it and finds it delicious. He doesn't know he's eating his nephew's flesh with his blood as the sauce. He tells the server to bring Ryan and ask him what this dish is. Ryan talks to Imogene and asks if he can quit working for the agency like Greta did. Imogene tells him Greta didn't leave the agency like Maurice told him. When she decided to quit, the agency killed her
She was the ingredient.
and had her flesh cooked for dinner. Imogene wrote an email to Maurice and made up a story that Greta became a personal chef for a rich family. This way, no one will notice Greta's disappearance. Ryan asks Imogene if there's ever a way to quit the agency. Imogene says no, and assures him cooking human flesh takes some getting used to. It just needs some time. The server interrupts and tells Ryan the guests are waiting for him. As Ryan goes to them, they all applaud him for a well-cooked meat. Ruiz then asks Ryan what kind of meat he used. Ryan doesn't want to tell a man he just ate his nephew, so he lies and tells him it was pork. Ruiz remarks this doesn't taste like pork. Nishihara covers for Ryan and tells Ruiz Ryan is just talented. Ryan then tells the guest he'll prepare a pig's tongue for dessert. Ryan goes to the kitchen and takes out Jose's tongue, looking at it. Ryan finds out Jose had herpes. It is not healthy to eat, so Ryan can't cook it. Instead, he serves the guests something else and gives Ruiz a secret message telling him to come to the bathroom. Ruiz responds. Ryan tells him all about what happened to Jose. Maurice killed him. Ryan cooked him. Ruiz ate him, and now here they are. Ruiz finds this hard to believe, but vomits in the toilet when Ryan tells him this is why he didn't recognize the meat. Ruiz comes out of the bathroom, acts normal, and tells Imogene he's going home. Ruiz pretends he's going for his car as Maurice watches him. Just as Maurice turns around, Ruiz sneaks to the back and meets up with Ryan. Ryan takes him to the basement where he finds Alice's body. Ryan also shows him Jose's remains. Seeing those bodies, Ruiz decides to call Gallo, but he forgot his phone in the kitchen.
I don't know, it's in my phone.
So he tells Ryan to get it. Ryan tells Ruiz to wait in the basement. Ryan goes back to the mansion, but gets distracted by the guests who compliment him for his cooking. The guests are leaving. and Imogene asks Ryan to see them out. Ryan does so and rushes to get Ruiz's phone. Ruiz waits in the basement for Ryan, but before Ryan gets there, Maurice sneaks up on Ruiz and kills him with a chainsaw. Ryan gets to the basement only to find Ruiz dead. This leaves Ryan no choice but to watch Maurice chop up the bodies and get rid of them. Imogene sends Ruiz's sister an email from Ruiz's account so that no one suspects Ruiz's and Jose's disappearance. She makes up a story that Ruiz will travel to Bogota City to find Jose, who abandoned his wife and newborn child to be with another woman. The next morning, Ryan wakes up, riddled with guilt. As Imogene and Maurice have their breakfast, Imogene tells Ryan many rich people want to try the food he cooks. She also wired $250K to Ryan's account. After Maurice plants a tracking device in Ryan's neck, Imogene tells Ryan the tracking device will stop working if he dies or commits suicide. She calls Ryan Jack and jokingly asks if he's dead, to which Ryan says no. Imogene then tells Ryan he has another cooking gig in Africa next month. Ryan then leaves the mansion to travel to the UK, while Maurice sets Jack's Subaru on fire. Ryan arrives at the airport and has a drink at the bar. There, he has a small talk with a broke man who doesn't like his low-paying job. Ryan then tells him all about his new job, except for the part where he cooks human meat. The businessman starts wishing for Ryan's job and introduces himself as Barry, while Ryan introduces himself as Jack before the silence settles in. Ryan wished for Jack's job earlier, but now he ended up with the guilt that drove his friend to suicide.